10 seconds that destroyed a race and ignited a global firestorm. The FIA's inconsistent rulings exposed logic replaced by politics. Hamilton breaks composure for the first time this season, calling the FIA's decisions unacceptable and embarrassing. The reaction is explosive. Ferrari, the fans, and the entire paddock rally behind him. Hamilton's Ferrari slid wide, tires grazing the curb, dirt spitting from the rear. Instinct took over that rare, mechanical grace that only he possesses. He corrected instantly, the car twisting beneath him like a living creature. The crowd gasped as he held it millimeters from losing control, yet perfectly balanced. Verstappen lunged ahead through the smoke, but Hamilton was already planning the counter. He didn't flinch, didn't blink. His eyes fixed on the Red Bull like a hunter watching prey. Down the back straight, the Ferrari came alive. DRS open, hybrid energy unleashed, the red car tore through the altitude. Hamilton's left thumb flicked the mode selector without looking, pure muscle memory. The roar of the Tifosi in the stands merged with the turbo whine. 210 miles per hour. The gap shrank in seconds. The braking zone loomed. He went for it, to the outside first, then cutting back with surgical precision. Verstappen defended, but Hamilton anticipated it. One motion, one thought, one blur of genius. The Ferrari's rear touched the grass. For anyone else, it would have been disaster. But Hamilton, cool, precise, timeless, corrected the slide without lifting. A small flick of the wrist, perfect throttle modulation. The car snapped back into line, and in that instant, he was past. The move was clean, pure, and breathtaking. The commentators erupted. The grandstands roared. Every replay, every camera angle caught the same truth. It was racing at its most beautiful. Then the silence. Car 44 under investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. The words hit like a cold wave. The Ferrari pit wall froze. The radio crackled. Static filled the air. "Repeat, please," said his engineer, half expecting a mistake. "Car 44 under investigation." Hamilton's voice came through, quiet, disbelieving. For what? For racing. It wasn't anger, it was fatigue. The kind of weariness that only comes when greatness keeps being questioned by those who can't understand it. When the race ended, there was no celebration in the Ferrari garage, only silence. Mechanics stood frozen, their red uniforms streaked with sweat and dust. The monitors showed the final standings, but no one cared about numbers anymore. What mattered was what they just witnessed, one of the greatest drives of Hamilton's career, erased by a decision that defied logic. 10 seconds. 10 seconds that changed nothing in performance, but everything in principle. The FIA had turned brilliance into bureaucracy. Hamilton stepped out of the car, removed his gloves slowly, and walked through the garage with the calm of a man who refuses to let anger show, because when Lewis Hamilton speaks, it's never impulse, it's intent. Frederick Vasseur was waiting at the back, arms crossed, face unreadable. Their eyes met briefly. No words, just understanding. They both knew what had just happened wasn't sport, it was control. Hamilton took a deep breath, wiped the sweat from his face, and said quietly, "Let's see the data." Inside the Ferrari briefing room, the atmosphere was heavy. Engineers replayed the footage on a loop. Turn 4, the slide, the recovery, the pass. Every camera angle told the same story, clean, controlled, precise. But the stewards had seen something else entirely. Advantage gained, they'd written. A statement without evidence. Hamilton stood over the monitor, hands resting on the table. "Watch here," he said, pointing to the frame where his rear tires hit the grass. Throttle drops, rear steps out, car slows. How is that an advantage? His tone was calm, surgical. It's not racing, they're policing anymore. It's perfection. Vasseur nodded, frustration cracking through his voice. It's unacceptable. They punished you for keeping the car under control. Anyone else would have spun out. Hamilton looked up, meeting his gaze. Exactly. They're not judging the moment, they're judging the name. The words hit the room like thunder. No one argued, because deep down, everyone knew he was right. The engineers around the table stared at the telemetry data. The lines proved it beyond doubt. Hamilton had lost time in that corner. He hadn't cheated physics. He had mastered it. An hour later, the press conference began. The media room was full, flashes from cameras slicing through the darkness. Hamilton took his seat beside Vasseur, shoulders straight, face calm. When the first question came, "Lewis, how do you feel about the penalty?" He didn't hesitate. "It's unacceptable," he said, voice low but firm. "The FIA made a decision that doesn't reflect reality." I lost control. I corrected it. I rejoined safely, and they called it an advantage. That's not racing. That's rewriting what racing means. The journalists froze. No theatrics, no shouting, just brutal truth. As the questions continued, he didn't dodge a single one. Do you think there's bias? A reporter asked. Hamilton paused, then said what no one else dared to. I think there's inconsistency. And when inconsistency happens often enough, people start calling it something else. The room went silent. Even Vasseur glanced sideways, half in admiration, half in disbelief. It was the kind of statement that couldn't be walked back, and Hamilton knew it. I love this sport, he continued. But loving something doesn't mean ignoring what's wrong with it. I've spent 20 years giving everything to Formula One. All I ask is fairness. Not favor, not politics, fairness. By the end of the night, his words had already spread across the world. BBC Sport headlined, Hamilton breaks silence, calls FIA decisions unacceptable. The Guardian wrote, Hamilton challenges the system. And in the United States, ESPN simply said, Hamilton speaks and Formula One listens. It wasn't outrage that made his message powerful, it was composure. Because when others would have screamed, Lewis Hamilton dissected the truth with surgical precision. And the result was more devastating than any shout could ever be. The next morning, the air in Maranello felt heavy not from defeat, but from determination. The usual hum of engines and chatter in the Ferrari Performance Center had been replaced by silence, broken only by the whir of cooling fans and the low buzz of monitors. It wasn't just another debrief, it was an investigation. Every byte of telemetry from a Mexican Grand Prix was being analyzed, line by line, frame by frame. The mission was simple: prove what the world already suspected, that Lewis Hamilton had been right all along. Frédéric Vasseur stood at the back of the room, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on the wall of screens. All right, he said quietly, show me the data. The lead performance engineer nodded and brought up the sector overlays. One line red for Hamilton, one blue for Verstappen. Here's turn 4, he began. Hamilton touches the grass at 204 kilometers per hour. Throttle input drops to 49%. Brake pressure rises slightly to stabilize the car. The delta time loss, 0.3. Negative gain. The words echoed like a verdict. He lost time, he didn't gain it. The graphs flickered and shifted, showing the full telemetry breakdown. Steering angle, energy recovery, slip ratios, tire temperatures. Every line pointed to one conclusion: control, not advantage. Look at the RPM trace, said another engineer, zooming in. You can see when the traction control intervenes. That's a car losing grip, not cutting corners. Vasseur's face tightened. And they called this gaining an advantage, he muttered. The engineers said nothing. The numbers spoke for themselves. At that moment, Hamilton walked in, quiet as always, his expression calm but focused. He stood beside the monitors, arms folded, studying the playback. Stop there, he said, his finger pointing to a specific frame. The screen froze the exact moment his rear tires clipped the grass. See that dip, he asked. That's where I lifted not by choice, but instinct. The car wanted to step out, so I managed it with throttle modulation. He turned to the team. They call it an advantage, but it's survival. I did what the car needed to stay on track. The engineers exchanged glances. He wasn't guessing. He was reading the data like a second language. Vasseur smiled slightly, pride and frustration blending in his voice. You felt all of that in the car, didn't you? Hamilton nodded. Every pulse, every slip. You learned to feel it after 20 years. He wasn't boasting. It was fact. The team's top data analyst, a man known for emotionless precision, looked at him and said quietly, you felt it better than our sensors did. That comment hung in the air, a testament to Hamilton's gift, the ability to translate physics into instinct. It was something machines could record but never understand. Later that afternoon, Ferrari compiled a full report, 100 pages of telemetry, video overlays, and satellite GPS traces. The title read simply, Turn 4, the Truth. The document showed everything: the throttle loss, the grip recovery, the absence of any measurable advantage. It was as conclusive as mathematics could be. Vasseur ordered it sent to the FIA immediately. They want facts, he said coldly. We'll give them more than they can handle. By evening, the file had leaked. Sky Sports F1 obtained the report first, broadcasting it in prime time. Martin Brundle's analysis was merciless. There's no gain, no advantage. The penalty doesn't hold up, it's a failure of logic. Ted Kravitz added, The FIA punished Hamilton for executing a recovery most drivers couldn't manage. It's that simple. Across the Atlantic, ESPN called it the data that destroyed the stewards. Even former champions weighed in on social media. You can't penalize control. You can only admire it. When reporters reached Hamilton for comment, he didn't gloat. He just said, "It's all there. I don't need to say anything else." That calm reply went viral instantly. Because that's what makes Hamilton different. He doesn't chase vindication. He lets the facts deliver it. While others would have shouted, he let the truth breathe. And in doing so, he made the FIA's silence sound like an admission. Inside Ferrari, the mood shifted from anger to pride. The engineers who had spent the night buried in data now looked at Hamilton with renewed respect. "He doesn't just drive the car," one of them said quietly. "He knows it better than we ever will." Vasseur, standing beside the simulator, nodded. "That's what happens when intelligence meets instinct," he said. "You get something the rulebook can't control."